What's up, guys? Today we got a banger for you. Today we're gonna view and tour 29 acres with 2 houses that my student just closed on last week. Today I wanted to show you this property to inspire and educate you on how you can find property like this, fund it, and how you can make money while you live here for free. If you don't know, we actually show you how to make as much money as possible during a 30-day period of time while using real estate. And in this scenario, it came with 2 ponds that are stocked, 2 rental properties, and plenty of opportunity to make money. So if you're ready to get started in buying land that you don't have to pay for, stay right here. Yo, what's up, brother? Wonderful to meet you at your property.
Likewise.
Yo, tell the guys a little bit about yourself.
My name is Zavir. I've been in real estate, dabbling for maybe about 13 years. But I've only had 1 property up until, 2 properties up until now. But this by far is the largest piece of property that I've ever come across. Thanks to Sawan and one of our colleagues. I really appreciate you showing me this. But what we have our hands on here is roughly 29 acres. There are 2 rental units on this property, a massive creek on the north side, and also has 2 lakes.
Oh, super dope, man. So 2 properties, the 2 properties before this, you said that this is the biggest. What were the first 2 properties?
The first property was a single family home, but it had a mother-in-law suite in the basement.
Okay.
Ugliest house on the block. Awesome purchase, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of the mountain range, we bought 20 acres, but it was really more like desert in eastern Washington. So the one side is really wet and gray, and the other side was too dry.
Nice.
And a property like this kind of bridges that gap. It's a temperate climate. We've got awesome growth here.
Yeah.
A way better place to like start up a small farm or just have some greenery.
That's what's up. That's what's up. As we go about today, I want you to talk to me about the different financing methods that you've taken and how you found some of these properties, and we can get into it.
Awesome. Yeah.
So tell me, brother, I noticed the first house. And I know that you said there's multiple houses on this. When it comes to the houses, are you expecting to keep them, or what is your plan to do with the mobile homes on the property?
Definitely looking at this as a multi-phase project.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, definitely keeping both rental units.
Yeah.
And scale up the rents.
Yeah.
Because it was largely unmaintained.
For sure.
So we want to take them from an unmaintained rental price to a maintained. Right?
Exactly, the add value.
Then phase 2 would be adding a few more units.
Okay.
At least 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, as a farm, because it's large enough, we can designate this a farm. Farms are allowed to have multiple living units.
Yeah.
And so that'll present Airbnb or farm stays, things like that.
Absolutely. Now, how did you figure out more about the farm stuff? Like to take 29 acres and to say, hey, what does it take to classify it as a farm?
Good thing you asked.
Yeah.
Sawan's mentorship. No, that was definitely something that you introduced me to.
For sure.
A lot of what you said, I just went straight into digging in with the state and the city and asking those questions and probing deeper.
Yep.
You brought up, hey, if you got 10 acres, you can turn it into a farm. You told me about the code that said, hey, you can have as many living sites as you want. If you're designated a bona fide farm.
Nice. And did you reach out to Mr. Jim yet?
Yep, reach out to Mr. Jim.
That's good.
I'll be meeting with Mr. Jim next week.
Perfect.
Give us an idea of what he can cut out for us.
Exactly. And the biggest thing that you want from him, again, is the forestry management plan.
Yep.
That right there. Taking that plan is essentially what you're going to use to take zoning to say, hey, we're a farm. This is our plan to make money with our land. Yeah. And it's literally that simple. It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, man. So what's the vision here? I know. So we're gonna keep the rental houses. Praise God, because that helps create, that is residual income. Do you have any other like income producing like ideas that you want to implement?
definitely. We also RV stays. We have a beautiful large lake right here in the back that you guys take a look at. So not seasonal, but year or annual fishing memberships.
Yeah.
That's an idea. I think you presented for sure that. So we've toyed with a lot of different money-making opportunities, and of course, farm stays or Airbnb or agro-tourism, things of that nature.
Let's do it. Let's keep walking. Yep. I've hung out down here by the pond several times at this point. Do you see the fish?
No, I didn't see any fish.
Bro, yeah. Oh my gosh.
We saw turtles earlier.
Oh my,
big. I think there's one on the boat now.
Yeah, they're snapping turtles. We sat here and in peace for a little while, and I saw so many. I'm sure us walking up and making so much noise, we kind of scared.
We were discussing the health, but as you can see, there's plenty of tadpoles. There's like little, minnow-sized fish.
Yeah.
But it's
plenty of life. Yeah. Now you're gonna have to clean it out a little bit, and I don't know if you like swimming, but there's definitely some trash that you should get out to make it healthier. But it's plenty of life. So I know you mentioned a few ways to make income. Have you considered which ways out of the ones that we've talked about is going to require the least amount of work, but then also bring in funds quickly?
Yeah, good question. The least amount of work would possibly be annual fishing memberships.
Yeah.
This lake has, from your friend fishing on it, decent sized fish. Yeah. You see a lot of life. There's turtles in here. Plenty of life in this pool, and it would make a good spot for fishing. For sure. We're just gonna clean it up, maintain it, and clear around the edges. For sure. Which is not a lot of work necessarily. Yeah. Another would be RV stays. We don't have to supply necessarily, water and electricity for people that just want to come and have the ambiance. Yeah. Now for the annual fishing, have you looked up how much that could potentially make your farm if you allow people to come over here, fish and hang out, out of the pond? Have you looked up some? I think averages are between $100 and $300 a year annually. Okay. And now that varies based on how nice the place is, how big, amenities, things like that. But I think that's an average range. Okay, absolutely. I wouldn't be afraid of shooting above that. For real. It was just when I made the post, for you, I just had so much engagement. Wow. I don't know if you've seen the post, but it literally has 117 comments. And my post was so general. It was I'm thinking about opening a fishing pond open to the public with RV camping. 117 posts. No, didn't know that. Good to know. That's why I said we got to get you a business page ASAP, so that way we can, I was actually working on that form this morning. Yeah, we got to funnel people to that because apparently it's something that people want. It's needed. It's needed. Yeah. So let's say hypothetically that you open this up to the public. How many people would you want to actually come over to your property and fish in the lake? Have you kind of done the numbers about how much you would want to achieve to help, create income on the property? I didn't look at, let's say, a volume of individuals versus cost to run. Yeah. So I didn't look at it like that. But you did run cost to run? Well, I know my overhead for monthly. Yes. But I don't know what the annual membership could bring in potentially. That's good. That's good. Okay, let's call it 350. Let's call it 350. And I don't when I was looking up some of the rules, is that those people could come out and they're able to fish, but they have a cap to how many fish they could take out of the lake. Mm-hmm. I didn't look at exactly what the cap was. Yeah, exactly. But let's just say it's 350, and let's just say you get 50 people over. That's $17,500 for the year. Yep. Yeah, and so that's cool. That is. That's cool. Because with 50 people, I would assume not everybody's coming all the time. Yeah. They're coming sometimes, and then a lot of times they might just be coming to chill. So so that's cool. What was the next low output for income on the property that you considered? The next would have been the RV stays. The RV stays, yeah. Okay. The RV stays, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So what does that look? What do you think that looks like? Basically just putting down gravel paths, I mean, this was something that you brought up also. Just placing gravel paths, the width of a RV, separated by, a patch of grass.
Yeah.
And I mean, over there, we could probably fit maybe 10 of those.
I think so too.
I
think so too. The more I looked at it, I was thinking, I think the first day we looked at it, it was like 4. But then the more I looked at it, I'm like, really like 6 or 7. And then today, looking at it again, I think 10.
Yeah.
I think 10 is fair.
It definitely looks like almost a football field without the end zones.
Yeah.
Worth of space.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Now, have you thought about how you'll find those, like the clients that you need in order to, rent out the pond and to get people here? You have a woodpecker.
Yeah, there's several of them on the property.
Yeah, I love that sound. Have you thought about how you're going to find your clients and market towards them so that way they can pay you?
I think one of the things that you did was just probing the population, saying, "Hey, is this something you're interested in?"
Yeah.
Which worked tremendously. Like I said, I was working on the form for contact.
Yeah.
Like a Google Doc. And share that with individuals, see what they're into, if they'd be interested in RV or fishing or both, and try to supply that need. Because more than that, we would love to create community here.
Yes.
Which has been difficult in the past because we've moved around so much.
Yeah.
But having a space like that where people can come and share all of this, because I mean, we can't keep it to ourselves.
That's a fact.
Right?
That's a fact. I honestly think God blesses us with stuff like this because we're willing to share it with others.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And we definitely are.
Yeah, honestly.
So I think probing the community and finding out what they want to see in outdoor spaces is the number one.
Absolutely.
Which you've already done.
Absolutely. Well, that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Well, let's continue to see it. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit of the due diligence, because on this deal, one of my other students actually found the deal for us, right? And then I was like, yo, this is exactly what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. What did you do to realize, or what did you do before you actually committed to the deal, like in your due diligence, to make sure it was something that you wanted and it was what you were looking for?
There's a few considerations. What type of access points there are to the property,
nice.
What that looks like.
Yeah.
I also wanted to know, is there water? What type? Are we having well, city water?
Facts.
Sewer, septic, things like that we wanted to find out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And was there anything else that you looked at that was like a deal breaker? Like if it has this, then
a deal breaker would have been like maybe if the perk tests that were done previously said, oh, you could not put a septic tank if there was no sewer.
Yeah.
That would have been a deal breaker because you wouldn't be able to put.
Right, you wouldn't have been able to build on
living site.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's definitely a deal breaker for me, because anytime people like off grid is by choice for me, not necessarily that I have to. That's for sure. And this is, in my opinion, this property is like perfect because it's city water. But it has septic tanks.
City water, but it has septic tanks.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So it perked in a few areas.
Exactly.
I did talk to the city and verified that they had septic. I also called to make sure that they, I wanted to know what type of electricity they were running. Was it 1 meter, 2 meters? And this place has 2 meters.
Nice.
Another thing was access.
Yeah.
There's access right here that you guys came through.
Yeah.
But we also found out that there are a couple of more locations that we can access the property.
Okay, that's cool. So it's like 3 driveways, or?
3, yeah.
Okay, that's super. That's super dope. Now, one question I always had, like, did you ask if, since it's such a big property, and really your property, I don't know if you noticed, it goes from city limits to in the county, like literally in the middle of it.
Yep.
If you decide to put a well on a portion of it, is that okay?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Fine.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, because right now it's zoned residential, agricultural.
Nice. Very, very cool. I love that. Cool.
So checking out zoning was one of those things as well.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I love that. Are you gonna keep him to a particular box?
Yeah, we have
flag
to,
it or
like,
something?
Or increase based on.
Based off of how much he wants to occupy. That's good. Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Just this last portion here, I know we see the vision, we see how you came from, and honestly, what I've gotten from the whole video here is that that you chose to do the mentorship with me, and that's helped you to acquire this property. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how your experience has been in the mentorship. And me personally, looking back at it, I was thinking about it last night. You kind of took me out of my box, and you wanted to do the meetups, which was a great start to our mentorship. And so I just wanted you to talk about a little bit about your experience with the mentorship.
The experience was, I think, very timely for me. I found your videos at a time where I needed to, because I'm transitioning from single family to wanting something larger.
Yeah.
And you were doing it and doing it a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to talk to this guy. So we got on the phone, and I think we were having similar similar family events at the time.
Facts.
And there was a bit of a connection there. And you told me then, you said, I don't know how this is gonna work out, but I'm actually working on something right now. And it was this property.
Yeah, right.
And we never talked about it again,
right,
until very recently.
Right.
And because when I talked to you about that, I was like, man, I missed another one because I wasn't on time. I didn't, reach out soon enough. I didn't do what I should have done soon enough. And I think that lit a fire in me, because I thought I missed out on it.
Yeah.
And so every time you gave me something, I was like, okay, let me do this. Let me take action.
Take action, exactly. Yeah.
So I just followed that, and we had some meetups, and we met with other real estate investors and people that were in that line.
Yeah.
Which just kept me in the mode.
Yeah. Did you ever have a spot where you were felt like defeated, or you started to give up, or maybe things was moving too slow during the mentorship period?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, as those things came up, what happened? How did you deal with that?
It was around the cold calling phase. I think that does it for everybody, right? The cold calling phase was very defeating, sometimes, but you got to keep after it.
Yeah.
And that's not how we came across this property.
Yeah.
But it was just one part. It's just one part of what you need to do to get you where
exactly.
you need to be.
Exactly.
Right?
It's I always tell people is you have to put in the amount of work.
Yeah.
And that's what God wants to see. It's like, tell me that let me know that you're serious about this. So it takes a certain amount of work. And a lot of times I'll tell you to just, even though this is not going to be a deal, just do it just because, just to, get the practice or move forward in that. So that's dope.
And I think I actually talked to you about it. I was like, look, this is I'm struggling with it. And you reiterated, you need to do this many calls, you need this many text messages, and bam, that's all you have to do, and you'll just push it forward.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I did. I was like, I'm gonna detach emotion from it.
Yep.
Because you're getting hung up on people saying, no, don't you ever call me back again, and that's okay. Just keep moving forward.
That's a fact. Yeah. That's a fact. Well, look, man, if you guys are excited about seeing Xavier and his family on this homesteading project here on his farm, go ahead and like and subscribe. Drop a comment below about the things that you'd like to see here, and we'll probably do a check-in. So with the mentorship, we do have several months of checking in with him and helping him, create income with the property. So I'm sure we'll give you another update as things goes on. So look, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Right on.